In the dead of night on November 9, 1979, a phone rang in the home of a high-ranking U.S. official, delivering news of an imminent Soviet nuclear attack that could end civilization in minutes. As alarms blared across military command centers, one man's composure and a series of urgent calls stood between routine procedure and irreversible retaliation. This is the true story of how a single verifying phone call halted the slide toward global nuclear war. Stay with us to uncover the fragile human element that saved the world from catastrophe.
The year is 1979, and the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union has reached a precarious boiling point. Decades of ideological conflict, proxy wars in Vietnam and Afghanistan, and an arms race stockpiling thousands of nuclear warheads have left both superpowers on a hair-trigger alert. In Washington, President Jimmy Carter grapples with the Iranian hostage crisis and rising Soviet aggression, while in Moscow, leaders view American military exercises as veiled threats. Military strategists on both sides operate under the doctrine of mutually assured destruction, where any perceived first strike demands immediate, overwhelming response. Underground bunkers hum with constant vigilance, radar operators scan horizons for anomalies, and intelligence analysts pore over satellite imagery, knowing that miscalculation could ignite Armageddon. The atmosphere is thick with paranoia as each nation deploys submarines laden with missiles beneath Arctic ice and bombers patrolling fail-safe points in the sky. At the heart of America's defense lies the North American Aerospace Defense Command, or NORAD, a vast network of radar stations, satellites, and computers designed to detect incoming threats. Buried deep within Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado, this fortress processes data from early warning systems like the Ballistic Missile Early Warning System and infrared satellites orbiting the Earth. These tools feed into a central computer that simulates attacks during routine training exercises to keep operators sharp. On the Soviet side, similar systems monitor for U.S. launches, creating a mirrored web of surveillance where false positives are a constant risk. Technicians run drills using taped scenarios, loading data into live systems to test response times, but safeguards are meant to prevent test data from bleeding into operational alerts. In this intricate machinery, human operators serve as the final filter, cross-checking readings against multiple sources before escalating to command levels. It's a typical evening shift at NORAD's command center, where technicians prepare for a standard training exercise to simulate a Soviet missile barrage. They insert a pre-recorded tape into the computer system containing fabricated launch data intended solely for drill purposes. Unbeknownst to them, a procedural error allows this simulated information to transfer into the live warning display network. Suddenly, screens light up with indicators of incoming missiles, showing trajectories arcing toward U.S. soil. Operators stare in confusion as the system fails to flag the data as test only, triggering automated alerts that ripple outward to other defense installations. In the dimly lit room, fingers hover over consoles, voices rise in urgent queries, and the first calls go out to verify the anomaly, setting in motion a chain of events that blurs the line between practice and peril. As the erroneous data propagates, warning systems at military bases spring to life with piercing sirens and flashing lights. At Strategic Air Command headquarters in Nebraska, bomber crews receive scramble orders, rushing to their aircraft on rain-slicked tarmacs under floodlights. Interceptor jets taxi for takeoff from airfields, pilots donning helmets and checking instruments in the pre-dawn chill. The National Emergency Airborne Command Post, a modified Boeing 747 equipped to serve as a flying White House, begins its engine startup at Andrews Air Force Base. Commanders confer in hushed tones over secure lines, relaying the alert upward through the chain of command. The machinery of war awakens, with tanker planes fueling up for mid-air refueling and submarine captains receiving coded messages to prepare launch sequences,
all while the origin of the alert remains shrouded in uncertainty.
In a quiet suburban home outside Washington, D.C., the phone jolts a senior national security advisor awake at 3 a.m. The voice on the line, calm but grave, reports that early warning systems detect approximately 250 Soviet missiles inbound toward the United States. The advisor, still shaking off sleep, absorbs the details. Estimated time to impact is mere minutes, decision window for retaliation closing fast. He requests immediate confirmation from additional sensors and orders the launch of verification aircraft. In his study, surrounded by bookshelves and a desk lamp casting long shadows, he begins jotting notes, his mind racing through protocols drilled in countless briefings. The call ends abruptly, leaving him to contemplate the weight of the next steps in the silence of the night.
Alone with the information, the advisor processes the implications. A full-scale Soviet first strike would demand a proportional U.S. response to deter further aggression, but launching without absolute certainty risks provoking an unintended war. He recalls recent intelligence reports of Soviet military movements and heightened tensions, wondering if this is the long-feared preemptive attack. Methodically, he prepares to notify the president, gathering key documents and mentally rehearsing the briefing. Outside, the neighborhood slumbers unaware, while inside, his family stirs faintly from the disturbance. He places a call to confirm that Strategic Air Command forces are mobilizing, hearing the distant roar of engines through the receiver. The pressure mounts as seconds tick by, each one narrowing the gap between restraint and irreversible action. Minutes later, the phone rings again with an update that shatters any remaining doubt. The attack has escalated to 2,200 missiles, an all-out assault aimed at crippling U.S. command and control. The advisor's pulse quickens as the caller describes the overwhelming volume of incoming threats, far beyond a limited strike. He probes for details on sensor corroboration, learning that infrared satellites show heat signatures consistent with mass launches. In the dim light, he paces the room, considering the human cost, millions of lives hanging on his judgment. Commands are issued to heighten alert postures across the military, with bombers reaching takeoff thresholds and missile silos opening hatches. The conversation underscores the doctrine's rigidity: respond in kind or risk total vulnerability, pushing the advisor closer to the point of no return. With the clock ticking toward the 3 to 7 minute decision window, the advisor steels himself to wake the president and recommend retaliation. He envisions the chain reaction: U.S. missiles streaking skyward, Soviet countermeasures, and the ensuing global fallout that could extinguish humanity. Doubts flicker. Could this be a system glitch, a radar ghost from atmospheric interference? Yet protocols demand action based on available data, and the alerts persist without contradiction. He lifts the receiver to make the call that could alter history, his hand steady but mind turbulent with the ethical burden. In this suspended moment, the fate of nations balances on the edge as military assets worldwide poise for launch, unaware of the error fueling the crisis. Just 1 minute before dialing the president, the phone rings once more, delivering the crucial revelation. No other warning systems confirm the launches. It's a false alarm. Relief washes over the advisor as the caller explains the mix-up with the training tape, corroborated by ground radars and satellites showing clear skies. He immediately countermands the alerts, directing forces to stand down before any irreversible steps. Bomber crews halt on runways, jets return to hangars, and the airborne command post taxis back to its bay. The crisis averts in a matter of moments, thanks to human verification overriding flawed technology. If you value these stories of unsung moments that shaped our world, consider liking this video to help share them further.
In the aftermath, investigations reveal the simple error: a test tape inadvertently fed into live systems, and prompt swift changes to prevent recurrences, including better separation of training and operational data. Similar false alarms in 1980, caused by a faulty computer chip, reinforced the need for robust safeguards. The incident heightens diplomatic tensions, with Soviet leaders expressing alarm over U.S. readiness, leading to exchanges that underscore the fragility of nuclear deterrence. Military leaders emphasize the role of human judgment in averting disaster. Training programs evolve to stress cross-verification. The event fades from public memory, but leaves an indelible mark on those involved, a stark reminder that technology's precision is no match for the potential for human error in the shadow of annihilation. Global powers continue their standoff, but with a renewed awareness of how close the world came to the brink.
As we reflect on this narrow escape from nuclear Armageddon, it's clear that human restraint and verification can triumph over mechanical failure. Thank you for joining us on this journey through a pivotal moment in history. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What other close calls from the Cold War deserve the spotlight?